Have you ever found yourself in the nice guy quicksand? You're doing everything right, sending sweet texts, showing constant affection, even bending over backward to be available. And yet, she starts to pull away. Frustrating, right? You're putting in all this effort, so why isn't it paying off? Here's the hard pill to swallow. In your quest to show how much you care, you might actually be sabotaging your efforts. You're unintentionally overwhelming her, and worse, making yourself too easy to take for granted. The mistake here isn't caring or showing interest. It's doing too much, too soon, without leaving any space for the magic of mystery or the thrill of pursuit. Here's the truth most men don't realize early enough in their dating lives. Attraction is less about giving more and more about giving wisely. And this is where distance comes into play. Distance is your ultimate superpower. When you step back, just a little, you allow her to reflect, to wonder, to miss you. And that changes the entire energy of the relationship. Imagine your favorite dessert. The first bite is glorious, isn't it? The sweetness hits just right, and you feel true satisfaction. Now think about what happens if you keep eating and eating, past the point of fullness. Suddenly, something you once craved becomes cloying, no longer appealing, even overwhelming. This same concept applies to relationships. When you pour on the attention without pause, what starts as sweet can quickly become suffocating. You might think constant texts or endless compliments show love and care, but in reality, they can erode her excitement and kill attraction. The psychological term for this is the law of diminishing returns, and it's a game changer. The more someone is exposed to a stimulus, in this case, your overt attention, the less powerful that stimulus becomes over time. What feels exciting or intriguing at the start turns into background noise if there's no pause. When you make yourself overly available, you're essentially diluting your own value. Every interaction loses some of its meaning. Without scarcity or boundaries, desire fades. Take this scenario. You meet someone incredible, and the chemistry is undeniable. You want to show her how much you're interested, so you text her all the time. Good morning. How's your day going? What are you up to tonight? You reply within mere seconds whenever she messages you back, and you rearrange plans to fit her schedule. At first, it seems like things are going well. She responds warmly. But little by little, you notice a shift. Her replies take longer. They grow shorter. Suddenly, she's busy. Whatever spark existed at the start seems to fizzle out. What happened? Simple. You gave her too much, too fast. This isn't to say you should act distant or disinterested in her emotions. The problem here isn't care, it's lack of balance. Humans naturally value what feels scarce or earned. When you flood her with unceasing attention, you rob her of the chance to miss you, to anticipate you, to want you. Desire thrives when there's a space to fill. When she wonders what you're up to or what you're thinking, you have to allow her curiosity and interest room to grow. Striking balance doesn't mean playing hard to get or withholding affection. It's about giving attention intentionally. Start by pacing yourself. Resist the urge to reply instantly every single time. When you're together, make the moments count. Be present, engaged, and thoughtful. But when you're apart, take a step back. Give her time and space to come to you. Maybe she's used to you texting first every day. Skip a day and watch how she reaches out. If she doesn't, that's a valuable signal too. Recognize that over-attention isn't necessary to maintain a relationship. Sometimes, showing restraint communicates more confidence than over-demonstrating your feelings. Trust that your value lies in who you are, not how often you remind her you're there. Ever wonder why people obsess over limited edition sneakers, concert tickets, or anything labeled exclusive? It's because scarcity implies worth. If everyone can have it, it's not special. But when something feels rare, people perceive it as valuable, and they'll go to great lengths to obtain it. The same psychology applies to relationships. By making yourself just a little less accessible, you amplify your perceived value. Think of high-value men. Whether they're CEOs, artists, or athletes, they're often seen as elusive, busy, and hard to pin down. Their time and energy aren't given freely. That's not arrogance. It's awareness of their own worth. Their attention carries weight because it's not scattered aimlessly. When you carry yourself with this same energy, it changes how people, especially romantic interests, see and approach you. Creating scarcity doesn't mean ghosting her or acting uninterested. It's about being intentional with where and how you place your energy. Instead of texting her goodnight every single evening, skip it occasionally. Prioritize yourself by dedicating time to your hobbies, career, or personal growth, even when you feel tempted to put her needs first.
When she sees that you have a life beyond her, it signals self-respect, which in turn makes her respect you. Another way to balance accessibility is to avoid oversharing too early. Keep some details of your day-to-day or feelings to yourself. This isn't about being cold or secretive.
Rather, it's about giving her the chance to ask about your life and engage actively instead of passively receiving everything you give. Be cautious not to overdo it. While scarcity is an effective tool, outright absence or disinterest can backfire. If she feels you're completely unreachable, she may lose interest altogether. The key is controlled scarcity. Be present when it matters. Show up to dates. Listen when she shares. But don't always be at her beck and call. You're not closing the door, you're cracking it just enough for her to want to step closer. Humans are hardwired to want what feels just out of reach. Have you noticed how a little unpredictability can make someone seem infinitely more intriguing? The key here is the dynamic of push and pull. When you maintain a slight distance, you create a vacuum, a longing that draws her closer. By pulling back at the right times, you allow her to become the chaser rather than the chased. This dynamic is subtle, but incredibly powerful. For example, imagine you've spent the weekend together, and things went great. Instead of bombarding her with texts first thing Monday, let the weekend linger in her mind. Give her space to process those positive emotions and miss your presence. She will naturally begin to wonder what you're up to and feel compelled to reconnect. The beauty of this approach is that it shifts the balance of attention. Rather than you constantly initiating and risking burnout, you allow her to lean into those moments of mystery and curiosity. This isn't about manipulation. It's about creating room for attraction to thrive. We've had such a great time. I don't want to ruin the momentum. If this sounds like your internal dialogue, you're not alone. But here's the thing. Breathing room doesn't ruin momentum. It strengthens it. It allows both of you to reflect and appreciate the time you've spent together. The key is finding balance. You don't want to become so distant that she feels ignored, but you should avoid being overwhelmingly present. Instead of saying yes to every invitation or always initiating plans, sprinkle in some unpredictability. Occasionally be the one to bow out gracefully, explaining that you need time for work, the gym, or a personal project. When she realizes your time isn't limitless, the moments you do spend together become more valuable. Nothing sparks intrigue like a man who has his own life and priorities. Making someone obsess over you isn't just about maximizing attraction, it's about conserving your own emotional energy. Overextending yourself to maintain constant communication isn't sustainable. By allowing for space and distance, you replenish your emotional reserves and ensure that when you do connect, you're showing up as your best self. Focus on building a life she's curious about, one filled with goals, passions, and pursuits she's excited to learn about. Don't underestimate the allure of the unknown. When you leave just a little mystery in the equation, you become someone she's eager to explore further. Validation-seeking behaviors are one of the quickest ways to erode attraction. Men who consistently ask, "Are you mad at me?" or "Do you still like me?" undermine their own value. While it's natural to crave reassurance, chasing it too often sends a subconscious message that you doubt your own worth. And if you don't see your own value, why should she? Think about it this way. Confidence is magnetic. Confident men don't need constant affirmation because they already know where they stand. They radiate assurance in their actions, their decisions, and even in their silences. On the flip side, someone who constantly fishes for compliments or anxiously checks in comes across as insecure. Validation seeking can feel exhausting for the other person, and it often ends up backfiring by creating emotional distance. To break free of the validation cycle, you first need to recognize the signs. Do you text her repeatedly when she doesn't respond right away? Do you analyze her tone or body language for signs of approval? Do you second-guess whether you're doing enough? These small acts of overcompensating often stem from insecurity, and they chip away at the foundational confidence needed for attraction. Take note of moments when you find yourself craving her reassurance. Instead of feeding that craving, pause, reflect, and redirect. Ask yourself, why do I feel the need for her approval? Is there a way I can self-soothe instead? Often, the answers lie within your own sense of self-worth. The antidote to validation-seeking lies in developing an unshakable sense of self-confidence. Pursue personal goals that genuinely matter to you. Celebrate your own wins, whether they're big, getting a promotion, or small, hitting a new PR at the gym. Surround yourself with people who challenge you and cheer you on. This shift is powerful because it changes the foundation of your relationships. Instead of entering a connection with the mindset of, I hope she likes me, you approach it thinking, I know what I bring to the table. From that place of self-assuredness, you naturally stop needing external validation, and you become infinitely more attractive in the process. Why do so many romantic comedies feature moments of spontaneity and surprise? Because predictability, while comfortable, can also become monotonous. The thrill of not knowing what he'll say, what she'll do, or where the story will go, keeps an audience hooked. The same principle applies to real-life relationships. Breaking expectations injects freshness and excitement, reminding her why she was drawn to you in the first place. Predictability doesn't just dull attraction, it creates complacency. If she knows exactly what to expect from you, there's little room for curiosity. That's why you need to shake things up from time to time. This doesn't mean being unreliable or erratic. Rather, it's about introducing positive surprises that make her see your relationship through a new lens. Unpredictability doesn't require grand gestures. It's the small but thoughtful changes that make the biggest impact. For example, if you always meet for dinner on Fridays, surprise her by planning a midweek adventure, a sunset hike, a new restaurant opening, or even an impromptu road trip. If you usually text her goodnight, skip it once and leave a playful message in the morning instead. These disruptions catch her off guard in all the right ways. They show her that you're invested in keeping your connection vibrant and dynamic. They also subtly communicate that your attention isn't automatic. It's inspired by intentional thought and genuine effort. Unpredictability works best when it's grounded in consistency. While you want to introduce spontaneity, you should also maintain a baseline of reliability and respect. For example, if you've made plans to meet her, don't cancel last minute just to seem mysterious. The goal isn't to frustrate her, but to intrigue and delight her. Find that sweet spot, and you'll keep her looking forward to every interaction. Boundaries aren't just self-serving, they create clarity and respect in any relationship. Without boundaries, people can feel taken for granted or lose sight of what's valuable about the connection. By setting clear limits, you communicate that your time, energy, and attention are finite, and that they must be earned, not assumed. Imagine this scenario. She makes last-minute dinner plans, but you've already committed to a workout session or a project. Instead of scrambling to rearrange your schedule, politely decline and suggest another day. This seemingly small action demonstrates that you respect your own priorities, and in doing so, you earn her respect in return. Boundaries work best when they're communicated calmly and with kindness. For example, instead of saying, I don't have time for you, reframe it as, I'd love to, but I've got something important to finish tonight. How about alternative plan? This approach emphasizes that your priorities matter without making her feel dismissed. Remember, boundaries aren't about keeping people out. They're about preserving energy so you can show up fully when it really counts. When she sees that you value yourself, she'll naturally begin to value you more as well. If there's one thing that consistently draws people in, It's a strong sense of purpose. Think about the men you admire most. Chances are, these individuals have clear goals, a focused drive, and the determination to chase their dreams. Now flip the perspective. Women are naturally attracted to men with the same qualities. Purpose signals ambition, direction, and confidence. It's not just about having big career goals or financial aspirations. It's about having something you're passionate about and actively pursuing. When you're deeply invested in your own growth, whether it's advancing in your career, honing your leadership skills, or simply committing to a long-term health plan, you exude confidence. That confidence tells her something powerful and attractive. You're not waiting for a relationship to give your life meaning. Instead, you're creating a meaningful life for yourself, and she becomes a welcome addition rather than your sole focus. On the flip side, men who center their lives entirely around someone else, especially early on, can come across as stagnant or aimless. Picture a scenario where you're always available for her but lack personal projects, goals, or hobbies. Now imagine how this might feel to her. While she might appreciate your devotion, she's likely to question where your sense of self-worth comes from. And no one wants to be the sole source of another person's fulfillment. It's a heavy weight to carry that ultimately detracts from attraction. Think beyond the relationship. What wakes you up in the morning? Are you working toward financial independence, creative mastery, or physical fitness? If your current focus revolves entirely around her, it's time for a shift. A man who's purpose-driven has depth, intrigue, and a sense of direction that ignites curiosity and admiration. Start small. If you're unsure of your purpose, explore your passions. Pick up an old hobby or challenge yourself with something entirely new. Sign up for a marathon, master a new skill like cooking or woodworking, or pursue that professional certification you've been putting off. The goal here isn't to impress her with your accomplishments, it's to impress yourself. When you focus on leveling up in ways that bring you fulfillment, your confidence grows naturally, and that confidence is what she notices. Purpose isn't about perfection, it's about progress. When she sees that you're striving to be the best version of yourself, she'll feel inspired by your energy. That energy is contagious, and it's the kind of energy that keeps her by your side. Routines bring comfort, but they can also bring boredom. This is particularly true in relationships. Once the spark of a new connection fades, the danger of falling into repetitive patterns grows. Predictability can feel safe at first, especially in the whirlwind of early emotions. But over time, when she knows exactly what to expect, the dynamic loses its thrill. And without thrill, attraction wanes. This doesn't mean you need to reinvent the wheel every day, nor does it mean abandoning consistency altogether. Healthy routines are essential for stability. But what she and most people find irresistible is the occasional burst of novelty. The element of what's next keeps her engaged and prevents your relationship from plateauing. Here's the good news. Unpredictability doesn't require extravagant changes. It's often the small, intentional acts of spontaneity that make the biggest difference. If you've fallen into a habit of doing the same exact date, say dinner and a movie, switch it up with something bold. Plan an impromptu outing like paddleboarding or visiting an art exhibit. Surprise her with her favorite snack when she's not expecting it, or suggest a midweek date instead of sticking to the expected weekend routine. Even your communication style can benefit from spontaneity. If you always follow a predictable texting rhythm, like morning and evening check-ins, try mixing things up. Send her a playful midday message or share a meme just because it reminded you of her. These small but meaningful moves break monotony and serve as a reminder that you're someone vibrant and unpredictable. Unpredictability works best when balanced with patterns of trust. You want to keep the relationship exciting, but you also want her to know she can rely on you when it matters most. Think of it as walking the tightrope between stability and surprise. Always be reliable where it counts, honoring commitments, showing emotional support, but mix in those moments of unexpected delight that keep her guessing. It's the best of both worlds. By now, you know that distance is not about rejection or indifference. It's about dialing into a simple truth of human nature. People want what requires effort, Creating just a little distance in your interactions gives her the opportunity to chase you, and in the process, she reflects on why she values your presence in her life. Distance doesn't mean disappearing for days or acting cold. It's about striking a balance that leaves her wanting more. For example, if you've been texting back and forth all day, take a breather in the evening to focus on yourself. If you've been spending weekends together every week, make plans with friends or family one weekend instead. When she sees that your life is multifaceted and rich with priorities beyond her, she naturally starts to invest more energy into maintaining a connection with you. Small doses of distance are often all it takes to reignite her curiosity. If she's used to you texting her the moment she replies, consider waiting a little longer before responding. Or if she's accustomed to you always being the one to initiate plans, pause and give her the space to take the lead. These subtle shifts in dynamic prevent the relationship from feeling one-sided and encourage her to reciprocate your energy. Healthy distance also means maintaining your individuality. Keep pursuing your interests, maintaining your friendships, and honoring your personal goals. When she sees that your life doesn't revolve entirely around her, it communicates self-sufficiency and confidence, both of which are incredibly attractive. While distance is powerful, overdoing it can send the wrong message. If you become too distant, avoiding consistent communication or leaving her in the dark, it may lead to frustration rather than intrigue. The key is moderation. Use space to create anticipation, not confusion or resentment. It's all about balance. Silence is an often overlooked tool in relationships, but it's one of the most impactful. When used strategically, silence speaks volumes. It signals confidence, self-restraint, and comfort in your own skin. You don't need to fill every silence with words or chase her with messages in an attempt to maintain her attention. Instead, a well-timed pause can show her just how self-assured you are. For example, imagine you've had a minor disagreement. Rather than bombarding her with apologies or over-explaining your perspective, take a step back. Give her space to process the moment. This quiet confidence signals that you trust in the foundation of your relationship and don't feel the need to constantly seek approval. Not every occasion calls for immediate responses, especially in dating dynamics. If you've sent her a message and she hasn't responded yet, resist the urge to double text or check in. Trust her timing and allow silence to do its job. Silence works wonders in scenarios where overeagerness might detract from your value. It gives her room to think and miss you. Another effective moment for silence is during periods of emotional conflict. Often people feel compelled to resolve tension immediately, but silence can serve as an opportunity for both parties to cool down and approach the issue more rationally later. Silence isn't just for you, it's important to value hers as well. If she's taking a moment for herself or responding less than usual, don't panic. Instead of overreacting, mirror her energy and focus on your own well-being in the meantime. Trust that relationships develop in waves, with periods of closeness and quiet coexisting naturally. Attraction is about mastering the balance between giving and reserving, between attention and restraint. By understanding the power of distance, you can create relationships that thrive on respect, curiosity, and mutual value. The truth is, giving her space isn't just a tactic, it's a mindset. It demonstrates self-respect, confidence, and an ability to focus on becoming the best version of yourself. Start weaving these strategies into your daily life. Take that step back, reclaim your time, build a life that you're proud of, whether she's in it or not. The magic lies in creating a dynamic where she's leaning into you, not because of how much you give, but because of who you are. Step back, level up, and enjoy the chase.